Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Place, taking a look at the fully upgraded FJ-1. Now, I was so excited when I initially got this aircraft. I was showing you guys its real fighting potential without it upgraded whatsoever, and now we are sporting the same 50 cal machine gun set that you will find on the F-86 Sabre. That is pumping out about 80 damage a second per gun, and then you're also firing 1,200 rounds a minute, so you're getting a lot of shells out of the gun very fast. And with the fully upgraded engine, this aircraft is relatively quick and pretty nimble. In fact, when you get the F-86 Sabre and you compare the stats, it's just going to be a more capable version of what you're seeing here. Better altitude performance, better speed, and all around a great aircraft. Now, for the FJ-1, I want you guys to consider something. When we were talking about the P-51H and showing some of its gameplay, its real potential came into play when you were able to get nice and close to the enemy and let those 50 cal machine guns sing at close range. That way you could ensure that all 6 guns were hitting the target at the same time. Same is going to be true for this aircraft. The closer you can get and let those guns loose, the more damage you're going to do instantaneously. A lot of people have trouble when it comes to a multitude of machine guns going up against a target because it just feels lethargic compared to cannons. Now, if you think about it, the amount of damage output on these guns is very substantial. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's comparable to any other Tier 9 heavy on the American line. Well, there's only one Tier 9 heavy on the American line, but at around, I think it's 480 damage a second for the F2H, this aircraft, and 80 times 6, so that's going to be looking at public math. 320 damage a second. I mean, not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be pretty close when it comes to just being able to hammer down and the guns taking forever to overheat compared to that of the 20s. So you're getting a little bit more sustainability out of it. If you wait until you get nice and close to an enemy, even a bot, they aren't going to maneuver until they start getting hit. So if you can get all those guns on target early, like right there, you're able to kill an aircraft relatively quickly and attrit it away. You can see we're taking advantage of the speed and altitude performance of the aircraft. With just a little bit of boost, we're able to get up to nearly 500 miles an hour, and we're able to come back and re-engage against this aircraft. Let's see if we can get on his tail. Looks like he's going to be maneuvering against us. And there's those guns on target, and how quickly we were able to chew them away once we got nice and close and got those guns settled in on the target. So I think the idea of 50 cal machine gun setup being a low damage output is probably in part due to, that was a ram from my ally, is in part due to that mental challenge of having to watch that health bar of the enemy attrit away at a very regular interval, right? It's like watching a clock go. You can see the second hand slowly tick away, but when you think about the cannons, you actually watch big chunks of the health disappear at a time. But you have to make all those shells contact, and their guns are going to overheat relatively quick. But with this aircraft, if you can get past the mental block of it feeling like it's taking forever to kill an aircraft, it really is a minuscule time to kill increase by looking at 50 cals compared to cannons. So if you get past that mental block, I think you'll start to enjoy these aircraft a lot more, and I had to get past it myself when it came to flying the Mustang series and learning how to use the guns properly, because with 20mm cannons you're kind of operating as a little bit of a sniper, taking shots at range, trying to chunk away that enemy before he gets nice and close, because most American cannon fighters aren't very maneuverable. But looking at a maneuverable aircraft like this, you want to try and take advantage of its strengths, which is the ability to get close and hang on a target. Now, you saw we were coming up on that RB-17, and I didn't just charge right up behind him because I didn't have any boost left. That would keep me in his 20mm cannon or 23mm tail gunner for an enduring period of time. So I just stayed parallel to him in the stack and let myself speed up underneath him before I pulled the nose up. And in that case, he was nice enough to turn to allow us to be able to get those guns on target. This is an attrition game mode, so you saw early on in the battle I went for their command center and tried to delay them as long as I could, and it kept the enemy busy, which meant that they weren't coming for any of our capture zones. The old saying has always been the best offense, or the best defense is a strong offense, and that's true in this case as well. If you can keep the enemy in the defensive posture, then they're not going to be attacking your bases as often. If you watch my speed throughout this battle, you'll note that the aircraft really feels comfortable sitting at around 400 miles an hour, and it likes to also fly at around 8,500, so it's pretty good at being an altitude fighter, and it can go well above that and still manage with the fully upgraded engines. Note that the second engine is only a minor increased overall engine power, but it's nearly 1,000 thrust pounds, or is it foot-pounds of thrust, increase from the second to third engine. So you actually get a substantial increase, and it makes this aircraft just feel absolutely dominating when it comes to its ability to engage and disengage from fights. Your maneuverability in this aircraft is going to be far above what you had seen when you were flying the Mustang series, which means that it's going to feel a lot better at dogfighting. Still very much an altitude fighter, and as you can see here, that J7W1, can never remember the name of that thing, the weird looking Japanese plane, is more of a low altitude fighter and can't compete with us when we go into a vertical climb like that, and they're much slower. So I went into a vertical climb earlier in order to get myself disengaged from the fight, but also give you that potential energy that if I wanted to turn it back around, I could use gravity to accelerate my aircraft into the next engagement. Here we are chasing a 261. We were able to take out his control surface, and now we're going to give chase. These 261s, even the bots, they maneuver very oddly, and they're hard to get the guns on target, but we're just waiting for good shots and then unloading in bursts. We aren't just holding it down because the guns don't overheat, right? People think, oh, the 50 cals don't overheat, so I'm just going to hold down the trigger. I think there's a bloom aspect that we're not seeing in the reticle, that the longer you hold it down, the more spaced out those rounds are going, so as a result, I try to hold my shots. Now you saw we were accelerating the vertical at 500 plus miles an hour. That allows us to get up to altitude very easily, and it's just great for being able to rocket straight up at a 90-degree angle, and you have more than enough boost to be able to do that. And there's the damage output of those 50s. Absolutely spectacular once you start to get a handle on them and use them properly. UXB is actually a pretty decent player. I played against him before, but he got pretty target fixated on those bombers for whatever reason, and maybe he was just trying to eke out a few more kills before the end of the match, because we definitely have this battle well in hand. There's that 152 that killed us earlier, but he's gone. So let's see what we can do against this 329. A single pass, we took nearly half of his health off of that airframe. Probably should have got a little bit more separation before doubling back on the target. And now I'm hungry for a kill, so I'm trying to get up behind him, and that was a very dangerous move. We could have easily have run into that aircraft and died, so I don't suggest doing that type of maneuver. I was just hungry for a kill towards the end of the battle and wanted to maximize my point output. UBX is back, and it looks like he managed to take out one of our aircraft, so I'm kind of happy for him. He played pretty well in this match. I just unfortunate set of circumstances that his team really wasn't doing that spectacular for him. We're going to try and just sit behind this bomber, which is not the best place to be, and unload with our guns. We're going to try and get nice and close to it. You can see that we're getting... Oh, we're trying to keep up with him, but it looks like he's really outpacing us. But we're at 10,000 feet, so our engine power is starting to die off. But look at that. We were able to take out that RB-17 relatively quickly. Most of my cannon fighters, usually the guns have overheated by that point, and I gotta let them cool down before I can use them again. Taking a look at the post-game stats, you can see that that was nearly 1,100 personal points for us there. Not too bad considering that this was an attrition game mode. We did not do nearly as well as our RB-17 with 18,000 combat points. I'm pretty sure he was the reason we were able to maintain most of our capture zones, so my hat's off to you, friend. We managed to make a decent chunk of credits on that airframe, and here's what I was talking about the difference between the engines. There's the difference between the second and the third, and the first and the second. So you're talking about a difference of less than 200 between the first and second, but then you gain nearly 1,000 more foot-pounds of thrust when you go to the final engine. So it's a massive increase to the amount of power you can get for an immediate boost of speed, which really lends itself to the improved radiator we have on here and the engine tuning to allow us to get that speed. The aircraft's already very maneuverable and it's working out well for us. I am testing out Marksman 2 on this airframe. I think it's doing pretty well for me for being able to get the most damage out of these guns that I possibly can. But with that said, this is still in the testing phases. I may change it out and try other combinations, maybe give it more maneuverability. I'm just not sure Marksman 2 is necessarily warranted, but again, more testing needed. And as you can see by the stat comparison here, it's just more of the same. Although the gun power stays the same, you're just going to get a little bit more across the board for speed, maneuverability, and everything else when it comes to the F-86 Sabre. And it is the exact same guns, nearly 2,000 foot range. That's not too bad. Well, that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I do like this aircraft and highly recommend it. If you liked the video, go ahead, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, and if there was something in particular you didn't like about the video, go ahead and post that in the comments. That way we can try and adjust the videos in the future, and if you have any requests, let me know and I'll see what I can do to accommodate.